Hunter Biden was hidden from the flight logs from the manifest when he was traveling back to the White House lawn. And the media had some questions about this. Why are they doing that? Why would the president's son not be included on the list? Is it because he was indicted again? Is it because you guys are embarrassed about him? Hunter returned to the White House and Fox News caught it. They said, who is that person getting off that airplane over there?
Broadly, the White House has been assailing the GOP for pushing the impeachment inquiry and federal investigations into Hunter Biden. But the White House might not have helped their own arguments that the president is keeping far away from all of Hunter's legal woes. We were all just watching the first family's return from Delaware on Marine One, and my colleague Peter Ducey noticed someone hop off the chopper who was not on the passenger list the White House gave us, Hunter Biden. So Hunter is apparently here at the White House after defying a congressional subpoena while being indicted and facing a maximum of 17 years behind bars on the financial crimes, plus another 25 on the gun charges that he is facing, John.
All right. Interesting that he wasn't on the helicopter manifest. Jackie Heinrich for us at 6.
That is interesting. I wonder if that's like the pseudonym emails, you know, that they just have hidden accounts. Maybe they used a fake name. Maybe they used J.L. Peters or whatever his fake name was. Now, they got back to the White House after they were shopping in Delaware, and so Hunter was hanging out over there. Here's what that scene looked like from Delaware.
Sir, your reaction to the car crash last night. What did you buy?
Nice job.
Okay, so they're there in Delaware, and there were questions about why they were shopping and what is happening with the Biden crime family. In the midst of Hunter's indictments, Joe Biden posted something like this, which was an interesting thing to post, given the fact that his son is facing tax crime charges. But he says Republicans in Congress don't have a plan to lower costs for families. Says the only plan is more giveaways for the wealthiest Americans. He says Republicans may not like it, says Joe, but I'm going to make sure that the wealthy pay their fair share. You go, what? You know, Hunter hasn't paid his fair share in years. In fact, he's not going to pay his fair share because the DOJ let all of those charges expire. So why don't you start with your own son there, Joe? And in the meantime, okay, when Hunter is not paying any taxes, he's catching a lot of rides on the Marine One, and they're not even putting him on the list because they don't want us to know about it because we're paying for that stuff. This is what Karine had to say when she was asked about this. You know, why wasn't he on the list? You normally give us a list. Everybody's always on the list. Why don't you tell us what happened here, Miss Karine?
And then I noticed today when the president arrived on Marine One that Hunter Biden and his son Beau were also on the helicopter with them. The White House provides to the public a list of staffers who travel with the president. Why don't they provide a list of the family members that travel with the president on these government trips?
I have to double check to see if that is indeed correct, because I did ask about that. So let me just double check. Look,
he was on the plane.
I'll say this more broadly. Obviously, you've seen the president with his family these past couple of days, and I think you know why. They were observing a very somber anniversary for them, and so I'm not going to add anything more to that, but this was it was
sad.
Obviously a somber moment in the family, and so they were certainly together to acknowledge and take part in that anniversary. So we just want to be really sensitive to that and make that very, very clear. And don't have anything to add about the family. Obviously, the president is very close to his family as it relates to the holidays. He spends, obviously, every holiday with his family, mostly every holiday with his family. I just don't have a list of names to share with you at this time.
Okay, so very sad state of affairs, and don't be rude, okay? Joe Biden loves his family. They were going through something very traumatic, very serious, and it was probably the anniversary of Beau Biden's death or something like that. And so Hunter named his son Beau in memory of his older brother, which is very, very cute. So anyways, Karine doesn't want to answer the question, just says, how dare you be so insensitive? Don't you know this is a serious moment? So she's going to look into it, even though we all saw the footage. Now, the press also asks her about this. Is this appropriate? I mean, the dude doesn't pay his taxes. He's been indicted several times. He just gave some bizarre press conference when he flaunted a congressional subpoena. And the question is he going to be charged for a crime for that from your DOJ? And meanwhile, as he's not paying any taxes, he's flying around on Air Force One, hanging out at the White House, traveling around Marine One, and so on. Karine, what gives?
The reason I asked is just the legal trouble he's facing. Leaving him off the list would appear to sound like an effort to conceal him.
Yeah.
And I guess the question that it begs is, why does the president think it's appropriate that taxpayer dollars should be used to fly him around when he's been indicted and just defied a congressional subpoena.
So I would refer you to Hunter's personal representatives as it relates to any questions about the legal affairs. But as you know, as it relates to the past couple of days, as I just stated to your colleague, is that the president and their family were obviously, it was a somber anniversary that they were recognizing. And so
what was the anniversary? Apparently it wasn't Bo.
For them. And I'll say lastly, and I've said this many times before, the president and the first lady love their son very, very much.
Love him.
But as it relates to anything in regards to his legal affairs, I would have to certainly refer you to his representatives. I just don't have anything else to add on that.
Okay, so they love him. That's why. So don't be so insensitive, America. They just love each other. That's why they can grift off America for all time. Now, what's curious about this is Hunter just committed a new crime, right? He was supposed to show up in front of the House Oversight Committee for a depo, showed up, instead flipped them all off, gave him the finger from the Senate side of the Capitol building, and then left. Said, I'm here to answer questions, and then didn't answer any questions and left. So now the question is, what should the DOJ do about this? I mean, we know that when the January 6th Select Committee was issuing subpoenas like lunatics, that they demanded that they all be complied with. They said, we're Congress, how dare you deny us, blah, blah, blah. Well, this person, who is a very interesting creator here, named Western Lensman, put this together, and he assembled 3 minutes. And so make sure you follow him and support this video here, because this is a good one. He says, here are 3 minutes of Democrats, never Trump Republicans in the media assuring us that if you defy a congressional subpoena, that means you belong in jail. And guess what? No one is above the law in this country unless you are Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, or an illegal immigrant. Here is the montage from @Western Lensman.
Do you think people who refuse to comply with congressional subpoenas should be prosecuted by the Justice Department and at the end of the day go to jail?
Yes.
If you act deliberately with sneering, cavalier contempt for the American people and their representatives, we will hold you in contempt. In America, when you are subpoenaed to testify in court or in Congress, you show up, period.
That if we fail to hold Steve Bannon accountable, that he will be the exception. He will become the rule. Either we are all equal before the law or none of us is. This is the essence of our democracy.
Either we're all in this together, either the rule of law applies to everyone equally, or we lose out on a fundamental aspect of our democracy, that the rule of law applies to everyone and no one is above that law.
Mr. Bannon stands alone in his complete defiance of our subpoena. That's not acceptable. No one in this country, no matter how wealthy or how powerful, is above the law.
And if he refuses the subpoena, like we expect him to continue to do, then we're left with no other choice than to ask the Justice Department, lock him up.
The plain fact here is that Mr. Bannon has no legal right to ignore the committee's lawful subpoena.
If Steve Bannon is just going to flout his nose at a congressional subpoena and say that it doesn't apply to me, then he needs to be charged and he needs to be put in jail.
Mr. Bannon's willful disregard for the Select Committee's subpoena demonstrates his utter contempt for the American people's vision that defies the rule of law and rejects the will of the American people.
We're serious about this. And anybody that is either being subpoenaed now or will be in the future, think twice before you reject a lawful order from Congress.
When you get a subpoena, the law requires you to comply.
No one is above the law.
I sent people out to pick people up that ignored my subpoenas. Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's done.
Child, the sheriff?
Yes.
That's right. Would drive up to the house?
Yes.
And snatch your behind.
Yes.
And put you in the jail while everybody figured stuff out. Maybe that's what needs to happen.
It does matter if the new normal is that if you're a Trump ally, you don't have to respond to subpoenas. It matters whether or not he feels safe defying the law here.
Steve Bannon, who defied the committee with his sort of characteristic two-shirted defiance, told you guys to go take a long walk off a short pier. What's the lesson here?
The lesson is, please tell your children out there in America, if you get a subpoena to go before Congress or you get a subpoena to go to the court, go.
What's your message to people who defy congressional subpoenas on the January 6th committee?
I hope that the committee goes after them and holds them accountable.
Should they be prosecuted by Justice
I do,
Department?
yeah.
Western Lensman posted that one, and it's a great montage. Make sure you're following him @Western Lensman on the X platform. And you can see really well done, really nice clips, and these people are just double standard lunatics, right? They say one side of people should be prosecuted and arrested, but then they make excuses for Hunter all day long. So great montage @Western Lensman. Now, others are also saying that Hunter had a right to defy the subpoena, okay? That he was immune because of something. Here is this woman.
Subpoena request.
He said he would testify openly, but not privately. But do you think he should have defied that subpoena request? Should he have gone and testified?
I think he's got a right to say, be transparent, make it open, because I think too many people are coming out of this and implying things that aren't true. And I think all of us have a right to know what the truth is.
Okay, so she's making excuses now for him, saying that he didn't really need to testify because he wanted it open. Like, so if Congress sends you a subpoena, then you can send them a subpoena back and sort of, modify their subpoena. So you are almost as powerful as Congress or something. So Hunter can just dictate the terms back to Congress, which of course is insane. So this is Representative Jason Smith explaining more about the Biden crime family and where this is going. He says, the Biden family has changed their story so many times, but we know what the pattern is.
It's the fact that Kevin Morris's people told you he was unable to give you any time. He couldn't come to talk to you because he was overseas between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And then there you are watching him on the steps of the Capitol with Hunter Biden right under your nose in Washington.
We absolutely are. It's just not adding up, and they're not being honest for how they've been communicating with us. He was supposed to be out of the country from Thanksgiving to New Year's. That's why he couldn't come in for questioning. But clearly he was not out of the country. But this is the pattern that we've been seeing throughout this entire investigation. You have Joe Biden saying that he knew nothing about his son's business dealings. We released the IRS whistleblower testimony, and then the next day they started to say that he was not involved in his son's business dealings. However, just this week, Hunter Biden's, in his press conference, says that Joe Biden was not financially involved. Well, let me tell you, the emails and documentation we've been getting from the IRS whistleblowers prove otherwise.
Okay, we'll see. And so they're still escalating this thing. Psaki has a very good bit of advice for Hunter, which is to stop talking in public, but we know he's not going to do that. And this is what Psaki says. Hunter, please stop talking. The White House can't take it.
Jen Psaki, you had this surprise press conference by Hunter Biden this week. Did it help or did it hurt?
Look, I think if you're sitting in the White House right now, you're like, please, Hunter Biden, we know your dad loves you. Please stop talking in public. This is not helpful to any of them for him to be out there. But at the same time, the president loves his son. That takes precedent over anything else. That is appealing. I'm thinking of the woman in your focus group who talked about family. He loves his son. He loves his family. He's worried about his mental health. But yes, the White House would like him to probably go away right now.
Yeah, obviously. So Hunter is basically giving the finger to his daddy's DOJ, the same DOJ that gave him a smoking sweetheart deal that his lawyers, like fools, rejected. He should have taken that plea deal from day one, would have saved himself a lot of trouble. But that's bad lawyering, I guess. And he thinks he can get more out of it because his daddy runs the country. And maybe he is right. So far, he is right. So far, there have been no consequences for him. He still flies on the government flights, doesn't pay his taxes, shows up, maybe drops cocaine at the White House, and everybody just looks the other way, as far as we can tell. So we'll be here continuing to cover this, my friends. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for sharing this show with a friend or family member, letting them know that we're uncovering all of this stuff. We'd love to see them here. We'd love it if you went over to robertgovea.com to check out our website, sign up for our daily newsletter right there, get any PDFs that we cover here on the show at robertgovea.com. We'll be looking forward to seeing you on the next one.